Hi everyone, I'm Tom and today I'm going to be showing you Fateforge, Chronicles of Kaan. This is a cooperative fantasy, big web of intrigue and story and choices and combat kind of game. It's on Kickstarter right now from publisher Mighty Boards and designer Gordon Kaleha, who you may recognise from, among many things, Vengeance, the roaring rampage of revenge kind of game, which the combat system of Fateforge is based on. This is on Kickstarter right now. The link to the campaign is in the description and it'll be up in the corner of the screen as well. You can click on that and see all of the final stuff. Everything I'm going to be showing you today is from a prototype, the components, the app, everything. So just bear that in mind. And finally, before we start, I was paid to make this overview video. So Fateforge is a combination, a mixture of story phases, combat phases, and rest phases. In the story phases, we'll get a load of story. We will make choices. The app, which is required to play, will be showing us some beautiful art, some lovely music, and the story itself, remembering the choices we made, the things we learned, the things we bought, and helping us out a lot in the combat too. Here, just a little bit from the intro should set the scene. These days, all roads in Kaan lead to the city of Isafir, the capital of the Chronicles Empire. Merchants arrive with the treasures of 100 lands. Adventurers come to turn their fortunes around in a city that grows in wealth and glory by the day. The generosity and ambition of the Ilkral, its immortal emperor, appears boundless. Your journey from the primeval forest has been neither short nor easy, but your mind rings with the desperate words in Naske's letter. The urgency of your mission makes you restless. Few druids in the primeval forest are as beloved as Naske. Though she is yet young, many are those who say she is sure to be chief elder someday, so great are her wisdom and love for the forest. Some months ago, she journeyed to Isafir upon the invitation of the Ilkral. Over the past year, the Ilkral's troops have ventured deeper into the forest, and his agents have been striving to exert their influence over the tribes of your homeland. Naske journeyed here to better understand the Ilkral's ambitions towards the forest. She witnessed for herself the prosperity and security the Chronicles Empire brought its subjects, but also its ruthless ambition and the obedience it demanded of its people. As her letter revealed, the Ilkral's invitation was a ruse. Naske is now his prisoner. This act of violence confirmed the Elder's worst fears about the Ilkral's intentions. It is vital that you rescue Naske, and that the forest hears what she has learned of the Ilkral's designs. Now you have arrived in Isafir, carrying her letter under your cloak. Your quest is a secret one. If you were discovered here in the capital of the Empire, Naske's life, as well as yours, would be forfeit. So we are forest people. A nefarious empire is expanding. We are not well liked in this city. We roam around a bit. We see someone who says they're a friend, but unfortunately they are immediately dragged away by militia who draw us into a fight. And here is where we can show off some combat. This is from the first instance of combat in the preview set that I've got, so it's kind of a tutorial still. So the app told me, get these cards out of the box, get these enemy tokens, get these other setup tokens. Then on the next stage, here is the layout of the dungeon and where to put all of those things. We have the enemies in a queue here, ordered by their colour, and if we zoom in on them, they've got different types like creature and militia that will have an effect on how they might behave. They've got some health values. The minions will all heal at the end of a round. Certain enemies like bosses, like this lieutenant, however, won't. They've got this blood drip in here that shows that. They might have some special abilities, like say if you try and shoot arrows into a room where the grunt is, all of your shot results targeted to the room that he's in have to be targeted to him first. And they also have things that affect their behaviour based on how far away they are from the nearest hero. Now, the objective card for our scenario tells us we need to defeat the militia lieutenant and leave through exit A. So here's where we start. Here's exit A, and conveniently there's the militia lieutenant. Later on we might have objective tokens out there. We might have things like chests that we can interact with. But as I say, this is the first one. So in combat, we've got 4 phases. We've got the preparation phase. We roll our dice and discuss what we want to do. The hero action phase, where we'll take those actions that we've discussed. Then the enemies will get a turn, and then there's a cleanup phase. The heroes that we've got here, Little Glass Marty is playing Akbad the Rogue. You've got your own special abilities, your own dice pool, different levels of health and energy. The Rogue has a special hidden token. Until they're not hidden, they're hidden. You have just a keyword to start with, speed in the Rogue's case, but you can get more from skills and things you have. You do have a couple of starting skills. Sometimes they determine things you can do with dice, things you can turn into other things you can spend. This actually turns a miss once per round into a movement symbol. And then silent step, if you're hidden, while this is in the available space, only minions in your zone can target you. And then I am Varsha the Mercenary. I have strength, I have different dice, more health, less energy, and I have charge and defensive stance. So we'll end up with more dice later on, but at the start of the game, we've got 4 each. You pick 4 from your pool to roll, and then you plan based on what you get. So here, Marty has rolled 2 misses, a shot, which deals a damage to an enemy in an adjacent zone, not the zone that you're in, and a critical hit. Now, a hit means that you do a damage to someone in your zone. A critical hit is treated the same unless you've got an ability that tells you that a critical hit does something else. He's got 2 misses. You can also have movement that will move you 1 zone, 1 tile. Other symbols that abilities might refer to, and you can have split symbols where you get to choose which of the 2 you are using. Now, the app has told me that the enemy is going to take a turn in between the players. We can decide who's player 1 and player 2, but the enemy's going to react in between us. All of our preparation and deciding what we're going to spend takes place behind our player shields. Now, Little Glass Marty and I trust each other, but yeah, you're doing this in secret. If you roll 3 of the same symbol that aren't misses, you can change one of them to anything you like. You can reroll any number of misses, and once per round, you can spend an energy as a movement. We need to discuss aggro. We decide who gets the aggro tiles. There's 1 per player. Some enemies will have an aggro icon that says they will try and target the highest aggro hero that's in range when they can decide between multiple people. So the higher the number, the more likely it is they will be attacked. So the Mercenary's got more health, and the Rogue's going to be sneaking a little bit. Although the Rogue can only be targeted by minions in their zone. We'll make the Mercenary higher aggro for this case. Now, since we can spend energy to reroll misses, I think that Marty might end up doing that. Now, 1 miss he's fine with, because he can turn that into a move. But let's see if he can get something else with the other die. Spent his energy and gets a shot instead. I think he'll be happy with that. Now, I'm fairly happy, but, you know, we could exert some energy to do a bit more damage and re-roll this miss. I'd like another hit. There we go. I'll be happy with that. So once we're happy with all of our dice faces and the aggro and all of that, we decide if we're going to free move 1 zone. So you don't have to completely rely on those dice faces. As it is, neither of us are going to do that. If there are enemies in the zone you're moving out from, you suffer a damage. But the Rogue wants to do shots in an adjacent zone, so doesn't want to move. And the Mercenary has a special ability. If you don't use free move, you gain a shield, so some blocking, which would be nice. Once we've got all the preparation out of the way, we move on to the hero action phase. Now, there's some limited communication here. The communication all happened in the preparation phase. Once it's a hero's turn, only they can speak to explain what they're doing, to ask other players to do things. The other players aren't allowed to influence the active player in any way. So on your hero action phase, you will spend your dice and your various abilities to do things. Once per turn, you can spend an energy to move a space, but the Rogue can move an extra space when they do that. Okay, I've told the app to start the round, and so player 1 we've decided is the Rogue. So they've got these shots to use first. Unfortunately, the thing I would like to do most, take out these guard dogs. Just because number of enemies, that's 2 enemies gone. They've only got a health each. Unfortunately, though, we've got this grunt standing in the way. The numbers, by the way, are just randomized. You grab random ones when you set it up. So all shot results assigned to this zone, the tile that he's on, must target the frontliner first. So unfortunately, he is waving his shield about, and these 2 shots must go to him instead. He's only got 2 health, so that does take him out, but that spends both of those shots. Then we have got this free move. We can use the roll to turn that into a free move. At the moment, Rogue can't be targeted, so maybe that's a good thing to, stay where we are. But no, let's get things moving. It's just an example. Let's go in there, and then I can use a hit to do 1 damage to a guard dog. So there's a guard dog taken out. That's quite a lot of damage done on Akbad's turn. There's nothing else to do. So we can do enemy reactions now. So in the enemy reaction phase, random enemies are going to activate based on the player count. Here it's the guard. Now you can press the skull if all the guards on the map have been taken out, but as we can see, there's one. So the app is telling us if there's a hero in their zone, they'll do a hit. If there's a hero 1 space away, they will get a block token that works the same as mine, negating 1 hit. Which only lasts this round, so I don't think it's going to affect us. And so for the Mercenary's turn, we didn't quite vibe on what we were going to do, but I can spend a move to go into that zone. Remember, I've got my shield because I didn't use my free move. I've got a hit that I can spend on that guard dog. Now, if you're in the same zone as a gem and there are no enemies in that zone, it goes into the party backpack. Orange gems have a value of 2. So we've earned some gems now. And so I've got a hit and a hit or a move. Now, the guard has got the ability blocker. Once you're in there, you can't move out. So I don't know if I want to move in there, but what I might like to do is to move into this zone here, because this bowman's going to be trying to attack me, and the bowman is going to do shots, to adjacent zones. Can't do shots to me if I'm in the same zone as him. So we had Rogue's turn, we had the enemy reaction turn, we've had the Mercenary turn, and then we move on to the enemy actions phase. Now, in the enemy actions phase, all of the enemies that remain on the board are going to get to activate. And it reminds us in the app of the order the enemies that should be in. Unfortunately, I've put the app in the way of those cards. Hey, maybe you should have set it up that way around. So they'll perform one action from their card. So they have a look. The guard dogs are the only ones with options, really. First of all, is there a hero in their space? They will do a hit. No, there isn't. Unfortunately, I am one space away, so they're going to get to move and hit me. It's not either or. Well, that's both symbols right there, which is a bit unfortunate for me. The guard dog comes in here and is going to do a damage, but luckily I've got myself this block token. It doesn't carry on from one round to the next, so I might as well spend it. It negates a hit. So that's spent. I am full health, and there's a guard dog nicely in range of my sword or Marty's throwing knives. Whatever he's chucking at him, it's working. So that's all the guard dogs that are left. The bowman, you can see their ability. They will do a shot at a hero that is one zone away. I'm in their zone, can't target me. They would target the rogue, but unfortunately, the rogue, well, for the enemies anyway, the rogue has Silent Step. If you're hidden, which hasn't been used there, but even if it had been used, once per round you can recover it by spending an energy if you're in a zone without any enemies. So the rogue will definitely, one way or another, be hidden, so can't be targeted. The bowman can't do anything, so it doesn't activate. The grunts will only activate with heroes in their zones. Nobody is in there. As I said, this is a tutorial scenario, bear that in mind. And this is only an overview video. You know that though, don't you? The guard only attack who's there, and the lieutenant will only attack enemies in their zone, but they have an ability. If a red minion is adjacent to this enemy, move it into the leader's zone. It's in an adjacent zone, so it goes into the leader's zone now. It's bolstering their support. So that is all the enemy activations. We move on to cleanup. We lose all of our unspent block tokens. Any of these skills, like the rogue used their roll skill, it would now reactivate for a future round. Didn't actually use any of mine. Any stun cubes or damage that was done to minions out on the board resets, unless they've got a symbol that says that they don't heal. And then you can see on the app here, it's asking to be told, have any heroes been defeated? Have any enemies, has a particular colour of enemies been completely wiped out? Have you collected any objects? Well, we have collected a gem, haven't we? So we can tell the app that. Then we end the round and go again. So we've only got a potential of 4 rounds in here. So the aim of the game is not necessarily to run through this entire dungeon, picking up everything, killing every enemy. It's about balancing the amount of damage that you are bringing in, because you don't heal, all of your energy and health at the end of every combat. You recover 1 health and 1 energy. You can choose to take a corruption, and you might not want that. It can be really bad to heal 2 health and 2 energy instead. But what if, as the mercenary, I've taken like 5 damage in a scenario? Healing that 1 or 2 isn't going to put me in very good shape for the next round. So it's all about trying to do this kind of stuff like, oh, I need to move into that zone, then I won't take this damage. I've got this block token. I can stay hidden back here, as well as the dice and the abilities. There's a ton of interaction and chaining between the priorities of the enemies and the positioning of everyone to try and make sure that you can keep going throughout the other scenarios, because when we have rests, you can spend money to heal more. That's great, but you want the money to advance your characters. These starting abilities cost 3 each. They're quite pricey. You do get them for free because they're the starting abilities. But later on, these are just the mercenaries' abilities here, things that are costing 3, 4, 5 each. You don't want to be just spending all of that, healing yourselves back up. You want to try not to take the damage in the first place. But balance, do we go into this? We don't necessarily need to ever go into this room. They aren't going to attack us. They're not going to leave that room. But there's 2 lovely gems inside there if we can go in there and work it out, so it's worth our while. So we saw in the app there are 4 rounds of combat in this in which we are trying to defeat the lieutenant and get to exit A. But we can choose to try and get an extra round of combat. Now this is the same corruption die as if you want to heal extra at the end of a scenario, you need to roll this die and you might end up losing more energy, drawing a corruption card and suffering extra damage, fleeing so you don't even take part in that final round. Or you might get lucky and it have no negative effect for you. All these corruptions are horrible, but depending on your situation, some might be worse than others, like Bones of Glass. If you have less health in your spent box than your available box, you don't recover anything at the end of combat. And there's no, set time when you're going to have a chance to remove these. So you've got to be very careful when you choose to roll that corruption die. At the end of that round 4, the app asks us, do we want to have another round? And then we've got to tell it what objectives we completed. In this example, of course, we've defeated the militia lieutenant, and then surviving heroes, and you might recognize this from Vengeance, you need to trace a path to exit A. It just means you've got to be able to trace a path through areas that don't have any enemies. If, for example, we had left this enemy here, we would each take 1 damage from every enemy that goes through that path in exiting the scenario. We all have to leave through the same exit as well. So in this case, we did that, gained 2 gold worth of gems, and we looted 4 gold worth, so that's quite a nice little nest egg we got there. So then we're back into some story. So an informant of ours has been taken away. What do you want to do? Look for witnesses, use your charm, stealthily follow a guard. I think use your charm, of course. And here we have a story test. You step across the courtyard and into the nearest tavern. It's packed with weary travellers drinking to their safe arrival in the city. The atmosphere is rowdy, but welcoming. You scan the crowd for any guards or spies. Once you're certain enough no one is paying you any particular attention, you walk up to the barkeep and order yourselves a round of drinks. Select a hero to take a charisma persuasion story test. Success on 3, major success on 4. Oh, need to heal our stuff after a combat, 1 of each. So I think that since I didn't spend any energy, I am going to take this test. It's a bit of a foolish thing to choose, really, charisma and persuasion tests, because you want these keywords. I've got resilience, strength, speed, stealth. Not great. There was a stealthy option right there. But we can try it. You always get 1 die to roll. You roll an additional die for every trait that you've got matching a keyword on the test that you're doing, and you can spend an energy to get an additional die. So we roll the dice that are in our pool now. Well, that's actually gone pretty brilliantly. So I've got a 4 and a 1. After you've rolled your dice, you choose which one you want to be your result. So I've rolled a 4 there. I'll choose that, thank you very much. Now, it can get better than that because, say I just rolled a 2. That's terrible. That's failure. But there is this mimic result that you can get from other dice. Every mimic that you get adds 1 to your chosen result, and every die that you've rolled that's the same as your chosen result gives you a +1 as well. You don't actually adjust the dice. So here, I would actually have rolled a 3. A 2, and the other 2 gives me a +1, or here I would have rolled 3 because it's 2, and the mimic gives me +1. But as it is, I rolled like a 1 and a 4, so I can go into the app and tell it that I got a major success on 4 against all odds. So we charmed the barkeep with a well-told tale of a bear hunt in the forest that went terribly wrong. Perhaps there is a talented storyteller in you waiting to emerge. And so it tells us to gain the Persuasion Trait and take card number 322 from the numbered deck. And there we go. There is my Persuasion Trait. Whether it's saying the right word or the right look or the right tone of voice, you always know just how to get your way. So you can see now that these keywords will start to build up when I try and perform tests and things like that. There are times when we can unlock side quests to investigate. And every now and then, not after every single fight, we will have rest scenes. And so it tells me to get some cards out of the box based on, side quests that we've discovered, maybe some extra things that the rest phase is throwing in now, and some locations that we can interact with, and most importantly, time tokens. So here we have 4 time, and you might notice on all of these cards, it costs time. Some of these things will be unlocked at the start of the game. Some things are unlocked because of choices that you made, actions you performed, things maybe you found in dungeons. There's locations that can give you food that you'll spend outside of combat to heal up extra. So in this, we have got the training hall. You can buy any number of your own skills at the costs shown. At the blacksmith, you can buy any number of available weapon cards. At Derelos's hideout, here we can recover health and energy, 2 in total. So 2 health, 2 energy, or 1 of each. So the app knows as well, we've got 4 time here. What are we going to spend time doing? So we might want to go to the blacksmith, and it tells me which cards are available here. So we can buy as many as we want or can afford, and here are where the symbols might start to have an effect. So you can see some are primary weapons, some are secondary weapons. You've got a slot for each of those. Some are cumbersome weapons, and they take both slots up. The Impaler, one of your hits can be assigned to a target in an adjacent zone. The Mithril Rapier lets you re-roll a red die once per combat scenario and gives you a red die into your pool. So the Mercenary could potentially go into combat with 4 red dice if they wanted to. Or the Steel Dagger lets you turn anything into a hit. So it's thematic as well. We might want to spend a couple giving the rogue the dagger. We've still got 4 gold there. Tell the app what we've bought. So that's one of our time gone. If we could afford it, double strike would be fantastic. Turns a crit for the mercenary into 2 separate hits. But we could have, say, slash. A crit becomes a hit plus 1 damage, a 2 damage thing, which could take someone out. That could be our other 4 spent. So we'd go to the training hall for that, and another time is spent. And then maybe we would just go and investigate some of the side quests with our time. See what's going on with this old witch that's living out in the marshes. And since we've spent the time, the story of that side quest unfolds. You can pause if you would like to see it right now. And spoilers removed from screen, that might go on to lead us straight into a fight. Just in my prototype here, which is a few hours of gameplay, there are some special letters. This one, I suppose, isn't a spoiler because you can read this at the start of your game, but a hidden letter to read when you are told. 2 more characters in the Forest Guard and Shaman, and there is, I think, the Nobleman character that isn't in the prototype yet. Stacks and stacks of enemy tokens, loads and loads of cards to discover, and wrapped up for protection purposes. Another mini. I won't go into who he is. So there is just a quick look at some bits from my prototype of Fateforge. Again, this is on Kickstarter right now. You can go and click the link in the description to see all of the final stuff, how to get your hands on it, what it's going to come with. And I'm so excited for this. Disclaimer, as always, I was paid to make this overview. I am a massive fan of Vengeance, which is probably the bigger bias that you should pay attention to. And this is just epic fantasy Vengeance with loads of stories and choice. The combat, the dice puzzle is so satisfying. How kind of tough the combat is from the beginning, because maybe the particular enemies that you're fighting aren't that difficult. It's always got to be in your mind that you don't want to be taking this damage in the first place. Oh, it's an enemy that only does 1 damage to me. Oh, great, but you better hope that doesn't happen too many times because you're only going to heal 1 damage. And it's definitely going to come back to bite you when you get to a rest phase and you're 1 gold short of the perfect sword or ability that you wanted to get because you had to spend money at the campfire because you're nearly dead. I've, of course, just got a limited view in the prototype, but could not be more excited to see how this unfolds and expands in the final version. And I hope that I'll be back here at some point in the near future playing through this with the final copy. Would love to be doing that. But hey, that's for the future. Right now, it's on Kickstarter. Link is in the description. If you'd like to see more from me, hey, maybe I'll play through a Vengeance Roll and Fight. A similar but different and real-time dice combat system, also based on Vengeance. Or there's 600 and something playthroughs at this point. Hopefully you'll find another that you'll be intrigued by. Thank you very much for watching this though, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye everyone.